by the BoyleSports app. Cash out and in-play betting available in the App Store and Google Play Store.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play for my country again.
Do it then. What about your start to the game?
It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
Welcome along to Tuesday's football show. Nathan and Kevin with you this evening. So it is Brighton 1, Spurs 1. Could be a vital point for Brighton in their bid for survival. And in the League of Ireland, still scoreless, an hour gone at Turner's Cross between Cork and Sligo, while Dundalk have now gone 3-0 up away at Limerick. Michael Duffy with Dundalk's third goal in that game as they look to stretch their lead at the top of the League of Ireland. So coming up, we're going to talk to Jean-Philippe LeClair, who is the editor-in-chief of L'Équipe, about Paris Saint-Germain, who claimed the French title. Shock horror over the weekend with a 7-1 demolition of the reigning champions Monaco. And we're also going to talk goalkeepers with David Preece, because a lot of interest in England in particular about who's going to be their number one for the World Cup after another howler from Joe Hart last night and not the most convincing display from Jack Butland at the Olympic Stadium. So is it going to be Jordan Pickford, and is he good enough? We're going to chat about David De Gea, Ederson, Loris Karius and all of that as well. Get your text in 53106. We're live on all our social channels as well, so you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook or on Periscope. VAR, Kev.
Oh yeah. It's
the old World Cup
reared its head again, hasn't it?
You got your games for the World Cup today?
No, I got them last week. Yeah, got them through from last week. Yeah.
VAR is going to be a disaster at the World Cup. Seems to be the overwhelming.
It was interesting that the Premier League have decided to delay it for another year. It's probably understandable the way that it's gone, hasn't it?
The tone of the Premier League statement was interesting, which was, I think we'll just let the League Cup and the FA Cup, if they could just keep trying it and having all the screw-ups, that'd be perfect for us. Those lesser competitions. For when it really matters, we'll hang on another little while. So it's back in the news because there was a pretty farcical situation in Germany in the game involving Mainz and Freiburg. It's probably the first time ever the players have gone off for half-time and have been forced back onto the pitch. So the dying seconds of the first half, Mainz had an appeal for handball turned down by the referee Guido Winkmann, with these scores still at 0-0. He blew for half-time. Players are going in for half-time, only for the VAR official to give the handball and award a penalty. Then, after a delay of almost 5 minutes, Freiburg's players had to be summoned back from the dressing room because of the handball. So 6 minutes and 44 seconds after the 45 minutes were up, Pablo de Blasis stroked home the spot kick to put aside a goal up and allow both teams to head back off the pitch for half-time again. Did the referee do the right thing?
Yes, probably you would say, yeah, from the laws of the game, he has to. They have to find a way of speeding it up, Nathan. It has to be the case. No matter what anyone says, and I've had the argument said to me as well, that if they're coming to the right decision, then ultimately, yes, it's right. And of course we know that. It's black and white from that one now. That's the way it's becoming. I don't deny that for a second. But one thing you've got to understand, I think, when anyone that would have watched the games as well, I'm sure that maybe anyone would know, you know when a team's on top. Now, if one of these decisions comes in and it's taking 5, 6, 7 minutes, whatever it is, to actually get the decision nailed down, get it all finalised before the actual, whether it be a penalty, whatever it will be, whether the goal's given, it breaks momentum in play. And football is a momentum game. It doesn't have the standard breaks or the necessary breaks in play. It doesn't actually play like that. So
the most obvious example of that, probably the night Liverpool played West Brom in the FA Cup.
Oh, totally.
Whereby, as Liverpool are trying to force their way back into the game, there was these constant breaks for VAR, so they just couldn't get any sort of rhythm going at all.
Yeah, it is.
So is it just the timing? Because ultimately, they're getting all the decisions right.
Yeah.
So is it just finding some way of speeding things up?
It seems quite logical and quite easy to me. You and I will both, when we're commentating on games, you know that they come on the monitor. We kind of know quite quickly. There's still going to be decisions that they get wrong, but it's about getting the majority ones right and quickly. And I personally, I can't see a problem with it. And you asked me before, we would have spoken about it before VAR did come in, and I would have been in favour of it. I was thinking, yeah, if it's going to improve the game, no problems at all. But it hasn't worked. I personally don't think it has worked. You might think, yes, they've got the actual decisions right, so yes, ultimately it has worked. But it's just how long it's taken. I personally don't. I think it's actually ruining the game the way that it's going to be going to. And
you would worry for the World Cup, where you have referees coming from various parts of the world, some who do use VAR, some who don't. But also the pressure. This is the biggest sporting event in the world. The eyes are on you. And you have to make a decision, and you have to go with VAR pretty much every time. The pressure is going to be coming from players who feel maybe they can influence the referee and get him to have a second look at things.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean,
it won't be as clear cut. It feels as though there's too much grey at the moment.
Essentially, with the VAR as well, which every single decision is being reviewed. There's 3 guys on the panel that I know certainly how it was working for the FA Cup and for the League Cup this year. 3 guys are constantly reviewing decisions, so they're getting messages through. They'll only tell a referee in his ear, you need to review this one. That's the only way. And then obviously he reviews it and he makes the decision from there. So that seems fine to me. There's no dramas at all because there's no break in play. The players are unaware of it. Even the referee's unaware of it. If it's actually just carry on and play on, there's fine. There's no issues there. The problem being then it's when these difference of opinions come into play. When those difference of opinion are there, which there will be, you and I wouldn't necessarily agree on a penalty or a free kick or whatever it will be being given at times. You and I. So how is it going to work with that? Did you say the pressure on the people that's up there that's actually controlling the VAR? Serious pressure, given the fact is that we're going to get some huge games as well this summertime.
Yeah, we need to move on, but you just think even that's the prime example at half-time of what can happen. Imagine full-time, goal-mouth scramble.
Imagine.
The ball hits somebody's hands, the referee blows his whistle 10 seconds later, the team goes off celebrating, and the VAR looks and realises there's a penalty kick needs to take place. It will be just absolute chaos, and it's the type of thing that can easily happen.
Definitely, 100%.
Let's talk French football because Jean-Philippe LeClair, editor-in-chief of L'Équipe, is on the line. Evening, Jean-Philippe.
Good evening, gentlemen.
So no surprise, Paris Saint-Germain crowned Ligue 1 champions. A 7-1 victory over the reigning champions Monaco on Sunday. Again, in the absence of Neymar, not just on the pitch, but also his absence notable in the stands as well. His father was there representing the family, but Neymar was back home in Brazil, still recuperating, playing a game of poker, which I understand hasn't gone down particularly well with some people.
Yes, exactly. I mean, everybody was expecting him to be at least in the stands to watch the game and have a glass of red wine like his father had. But he was back home playing poker on his computer, and so I think it says a lot about the relation between Neymar and the club. And only today he said that he will be back for the 17th of May in France, and the last game of Paris Saint-Germain is on the 19th of May, 2 days after. So, which means that there are only a few chances to see him play with Paris Saint-Germain again before the World Cup. So it's true that here in France, especially in Paris, I mean, people are a bit frustrated and a bit wondering what kind of relation there is between Neymar and his club.
What kind of feeling is there then between the Paris Saint-Germain supporters and Neymar? Because on the pitch, when he's played, he's generally delivered. He has 28 goals in his 30th appearance. He's got all the tricks. He's got everything you would want. But there's this constant speculation that he's going to leave the club straight away and going to sign for Real Madrid. There certainly doesn't seem to be a sense that he's going to become one of these club legends who's around for 4 or 5 years, who's the one that helps them break through in the Champions League. Is there a bond there? Is there a love between the supporters and Neymar?
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't forget what Neymar has already bring to Paris Saint-Germain and to French football in general. I mean, the world is watching Ligue 1 because Neymar is playing for Paris Saint-Germain. So I think the league, the French league, has taken a new dimension thanks to Neymar. But I mean, almost right from the beginning, there's also this feeling that he's not going to stay. He's here to. We think that he's here mostly to win the Ballon d'Or. That's his main goal, and I think he thought that it wouldn't be possible in Barcelona because Messi was a big name, was a big player. So that's why he came to Paris, and I think that the board in Paris told him that the club and the team will be built around him, and there have been some tension with some players, with Edison Cavani especially, and I think that Neymar has been bored with the level of Ligue 1. He thinks that it's not good enough. So everything was. The Champions League was everything. And when he was supposed to play the big games against Real Madrid, he get injured. And what he did is that he went straight to Brazil. So it was a bit surprising for the French because. We thought we had good doctors. We thought he could have, get his surgery in France. We're not a third world country. And straight away went back to Brazil, and everything was supervised by Brazilian doctors. And it looks like as soon as he stepped on the ground in Brazil, the only goal for Neymar and for Brazil was him to play the World Cup that. Paris Saint-Germain and the French League and even the Champions League was not his main concern anymore. So
that's quite unusual now, because for most players the Champions League is the be all and end all. We know the World Cup is still this huge event for footballers, but the Champions League is where players make their reputation. It's where Messi and Ronaldo have been able to make their reputation. How does that then fit in with the owners' plans, with the Qatari owners who have this obsession with winning the Champions League, that their star the player that they've spent so much money on, that his focus is on his country?
Yeah, right from the beginning, the Qatari were very clear about it. Their main objective, and the reason they put so much money on the team is to win the Champions League. And the fact that the Qataris have been in Paris for 7 years now, and their best results so far in the Champions League have been a quarterfinal. And for 2 years in a row, they have been kicked out as early as January. So. And they put a lot of money last summer with not only with Neymar but also with Mbappe, and so there is this very strong frustration from the Qatari owners that they want so bad to win this Champions League, and it's much more complicated, I think, than what they thought. They thought that it wouldn't be that complicated, and that it takes much more time than what they thought, and Neymar was supposed to be the key players to win this championship, this Champions League, and unfortunately, he did get injured before the big game against Madrid, and now we don't really know what's going to happen. Of course, here in Paris, they say that Neymar will be here in Paris next season, but imagine if he's winning the World Cup with Brazil, he's playing fantastic. There will be a lot of pressure from clubs like Real Madrid to try to get him, and maybe some pressure from him to go to Madrid. So at the moment, the situation is not very clear.
Yeah, Jean-Philippe, I want to ask you around that, what potential could happen in a while. But just going back to, you mentioned something there. As soon as Neymar was injured, he goes straight back to Brazil. Nathan's touched on something there around the owners and everything. It seemed to me that this problem set in very early on this season with Neymar. That it was almost as if, I can do what I want. Now we smashed the world record transfer fee. We've got Unai Emery in here as coach. I run the show here. I do what I want. Has that been the case? A serious lack of discipline throughout the playing staff across the whole, not just Neymar in general?
I think you have to realise that Paris Saint-Germain is still a very young club. It was founded in the early 70s. So there is not this tradition, history, or even legend that you have in clubs like Man United or Real Madrid or Barcelona. So I think the key problem is that here in Paris, the players are bigger than the club. Some players are bigger than the club, and so they have the feeling that they can do pretty much what they want. And there has been a lot of criticism toward the coach Unai Emery. But the poor Emery, he never really had the confidence from his own board, from his own president. So it's true that a part of the reason why Neymar came to Paris is that the Qataris, they told him, it's going to be your team, it's going to be your club. As soon as he arrived in Paris, we light the Eiffel Tower to welcome him. So it was it was really something. I mean, he's the best player that has ever played for the French league ever. I mean, even Ibrahimovic compared to that is not as good as Neymar. So at the moment there is a kind of mutual frustration, I think, because Neymar thinks that Ligue 1 is maybe not good enough, and Paris Saint-Germain. I mean, most of the fans think that. I mean, he was quick to go back to Brazil, and he's not very quick to come back to Paris. So we are a bit skeptical about the future, to say the least.
Unai Emery has admitted himself that he's not going to be there next season. It looks as though Thomas Tuchel is going to get the job. What sort of club then is he going to be taking over in terms of what they did last season, been able to bring in Mbappe and Neymar? Most clubs in that position, the super clubs in the world, they go and they invest again. But with the financial fair play issues surrounding Paris Saint-Germain, what's Tuchel going to be able to work with?
He's going to be able to work with fantastic players. I mean, when you have players like Mbappe or Neymar in your team, I mean, how can you complain? But it's true that we don't know anything about what's going to happen with financial fair play. I think Paris Saint-Germain, they're going to try to buy a new keeper. They want to buy a new number 6, but are they going to be able to do that? It's not sure. I mean, with all the money that they spent last summer, it's a fact that in some position on the pitch, I mean, they don't have the same kind of the same level of player. You know, the only player that they bought during the winter, they didn't even buy him. I mean, he came for free, was Lassana Diarra, and he's not really fit. So, but here in France, to tell you the truth, I mean, the choice of Tuchel is a bit of a surprise, and we know for sure that he was chosen by the Qatari, and not even by Nasser, but by the Sheikh himself. So it's more a political choice than really a football choice. So, and we know that Tuchel is very well known for, I mean, not very for being a very strict coach. So how is he getting along with stars like Neymar or the Alves, which are the real boss of the team, maybe even more than the coach itself, than Unai Emery himself this year. It's going to be interesting to see that.
Do you know one thing? Given that they were fined £50 million, it was £50 million, wasn't it? I think it was a few seasons ago over financial fair play irregularities. Surely they must have envisaged this situation further down the line, given the fact is that they signed obviously Mbappe and Neymar last summer, that this is where the investigation certainly comes around. They must have envisaged that happening somewhere down the line, surely.
I think the bet was to say, okay, we have the opportunity to recruit those 2 players.
Yeah,
that won't happen again. So first we buy them, and then we'll see.
Deal with the consequences afterwards as such then, yeah? Yeah,
and we still don't know what the consequences are going to be. I mean, they could be fined again, they could be suspended from a Champions League, like maybe nothing's going to happen. So it was risky, but I mean, they had this opportunity first to buy Neymar, and then Mbappe was there, and Monaco didn't want to sell Mbappe to Paris Saint-Germain, but Mbappe wanted to come to Paris Saint-Germain. So when you have this opportunity to recruit one of the best players in the world and maybe the most promising player for the future, I mean, you take the risk, and they have a lot of money, and they have already sold Lucas to Tottenham. They have good chances to sell Guedes to Valencia. So they think that maybe they're going to have to sell 1 or 2 more players, and that'll be it. I mean, that'll be good enough for the financial fair play. I mean, that's at least that's what they are saying, and nobody knows at the moment if they are right or wrong. Only the future will tell them. Will tell us.
Yeah, it sounds like those at the top of the club and those on the pitch feel like they can act and do whatever they want, and there won't really be any consequences to deal with. That's financial fair play from the UEFA point of view. Do the French authorities in any way look at Paris Saint-Germain, and are they concerned when they're seeing last season's champions been beaten by 7-1? Or are they caught up in the hype as well of having a team that might go and win the Champions League and all that would mean for French football?
There are mixed feelings because Paris Saint-Germain is a team from Paris, and we are a country where when you are out of Paris is not very popular. It's pretty much the rest of the country against Paris. But on the other hand, I mean, even the fans from Marseille or Lyon or Saint-Etienne, they realize that to have players like Neymar in the Ligue 1 is really something exceptional, and that's Mbappe is not playing for Real Madrid. I mean, we have been used to so many years of seeing leading our best players from Ligue 1 at such a younger and younger age. Before they were leaving when they were 24, 25, but now I mean most of the best French players they were leaving for England or Germany or Spain as early as 17 or 18. So it was a lot of frustration. And even if Paris Saint-Germain is maybe too big for Ligue 1 now, I mean, just the fact that every weekend we can see players like Mbappe, like Neymar, or even Di Maria or Drexler. I mean, when you like football, you can only say not thank you to Paris Saint-Germain, but you can only appreciate it. I mean. So there is this mixed feeling that, I mean, the French league is too easy for Paris Saint-Germain, and the Champions League is still too hard. So that's the paradox. I mean, and last year Monaco won the league, but I mean they have been trashed last Sunday 7-1. It was really something. I mean, that there is a huge gap between Paris Saint-Germain and the other French team. That's a fact, that's for sure.
Just before we let you go, Jean-Philippe, and just changing tack slightly to the French national team in the World Cup this summer, and it's just brimming with talent, particularly attacking-wise, with Mbappe, Griezmann, Martial, Dembele, Pogba. There's a lot to be excited about with this French team, and they showed a lot of that promise during Euro 2016, even with all the pressure of playing on home soil. I'm just wondering about their captain, though, and their goalkeeper, Hugo Lloris. Watching him here playing for Spurs, looking a little bit unsteady, maybe a slight struggle for form over recent months. Are there any concerns over him in France?
Yeah, of course. We are concerned about Lloris because we see the games and we see the mistake that he has made. But on the other hand, I mean, our second best goalkeeper, Mandanda from Marseille, is injured, and so it's. I mean, I'm nearly 100% sure that Lloris will start our first game at the World Cup, and that he will be the captain of the team. We don't have. I mean, we have a lot of very good players up front, for example, but. Talking about the goalkeepers, we don't have that many options. I mean, Areola is number 3 from Paris Saint-Germain, but I mean, he's got his ups and downs also. So I mean, even with those mistakes, Lloris is still number 1 for France. But yes, of course, we're concerned.
Is the expectancy that you will win this summer, given the squad that Nathan's already touched on? You have.
At least I mean, everybody will be very disappointed if we don't reach at least the semi-final. I mean, I would say that semi-final will be okay. We have done our job. Final will be okay. That's a good World Cup, and winning it, of course, will be fantastic. But we lost to Germany 4 years ago, and at the time, Deschamps was saying it's still a very young team, and it will take time, so I need 4 more years. Then we lost in the final against Portugal at the Euro, and everybody thought that it was quite a good result. But now the expectations are very high for the World Cup, and the last game from France have been far from convincing. I mean, we lost to Colombia in Paris, and we have beaten Russia, but Russia was so weak. Everybody could have beat Russia on that day. So we are, to tell you the truth, we are a bit worried because since the last Euro on our home soil, we haven't seen that many good games from French national teams, and the team is still struggling to have his own style of playing. So we have we have all this. We even drew to Luxembourg, we have all these good players, especially up front, but that doesn't make a team. It's the same like with Paris Saint-Germain. It's not because you have 11 good players that you have a fantastic team. We know that for sure. Portugal was not really fantastic 2 years ago, and they won the Euro. So we know we have, for sure, we have very good players, but we still don't know if we have a team or not. We will see in Russia.
All right, great stuff. Thanks a lot for taking the call, Jean-Philippe.
Thanks to you.
Jean-Philippe LeClair there, editor-in-chief of L'Equipe. Of course, we're going to Paris to play France in a friendly before the World Cup. You look at the team, though, and there's been a lot of criticism of Deschamps throughout his reign that he just hasn't been able to get the best out of them. Lloris in goal as their captain. Back four probably of Sidibe right back. Yeah. Mendy is almost fully fit at left back. Varane and Umtiti in the centre. Varane, arguably the best young centre half in Europe. Yeah. Kante, Pogba, Neymar.
Yeah, probably something like that.
And then Griezmann, Mbappe, Giroud. Or will it be Griezmann, Mbappe, Neymar as the front three, Kante, Pogba, Matuidi as the midfield three?
Yeah, there's options. There's definitely a lot of
That's
options.
not including Anthony Martial, Ousmane Dembele, Ben Yedder.
Yeah.
They have a few options.
No, they have. They've got a couple of options there, haven't they?
Kingsley Coleman.
Yeah. There'd be more. There'd be more you're not even thinking of in your head as well, honestly. It's an incredible squad they've got.
Yeah, so they're in, that's the group we should have been in. They're in with Denmark, Australia, Peru, I think it is their group, which should be fairly be fairly straightforward. It could rack up a few scores there. For Denmark.
And you'd fancy it, wouldn't you?
2 minutes left at the Amex, and it is still Brighton 1, Spurs 1. Harry Kane has just been replaced. Fernando Llorente is on. He just had a shot saved by Matt Ryan a couple of moments ago. Toby Alderweireld back, interestingly enough, for Spurs tonight as well. It's issues over his contract, whether he's going to stay, whether he's going to go. On his day, and not even on his day, before he picked up his injury, commonly seen as the best centre-back in the Premier League, and Pochettino sort of just...
Well, he's been fit. He's been fit for a while now, hasn't he? So there's clearly issues. It looks to me like he's gone, and I think there will be maybe a few changes at Tottenham over the summertime. Yeah, but that'll be a big blow for Spurs.
The scores in the Electricity League, Cork have scored against Sligo, so they lead there in the final moments. Dundalk 3-0 up still away against Limerick, so the gap at the top will remain at 2 points, but that a big win for Cork City. Jimmy Keohane with the goal for Cork City in that one. And just on that Brighton game, that would mean that Brighton move, 8 points?
Got to be safe, haven't they?
Clear, they move on to 36. Southampton are on 28, so yeah, they are very, very close to safety. We'll talk a little bit more about that, and we're also going to talk goalkeepers as Hugo Lloris falls over about 10 yards outside his own penalty area and just
got away with it.
Just to get back on his feet again and gets away with it. So it remains 1-1 in injury time. And another chance and a reminder to enter our competition as well, which is a good one. Have you ever dreamed of playing on a Premier League pitch, Kevin?
I have, Nathan, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Don't need to rub it in. Well, now's your chance, everybody listening at home. Off the Ball is teaming up with Carling Ireland to offer one lucky winner and 4 mates an all-expenses-paid trip to a Premier League club for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to play on a Premier League pitch on Thursday, May 10th. For your chance to win, visit offtheball.com/Carling. All the details are there. That's offtheball.com/Carling. Terms and conditions apply. You have to be over 18 to enter. It's all with thanks to Carling, official beer of the Premier League, bringing fans closer to the Premier League action. Always remember to drink responsibly. Visit drinkaware.ie for more information. Up next, we're talking goalkeeping with David Preece.
Football on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by the BoyleSports app. Cash out and in-play betting available in the App Store and Google Play Store.
Moncrief.
Oh, you're just going to be laughing at the spot. So there's a shady scientific corporation, right?
They're the worst sort, the shady ones.
Are trying to weaponise animals so they can sell them to governments to wage war. They've been doing this in outer space in a secret scientific.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to see this.
Moncrief.
With Gas Networks Ireland.
Weekdays from 2 p.m. on News Talk.
I was looking for a dip in the pool weekend with luxurious organic treatments. And then I found
Tea for Two by a Crackling Fire.
And a wrapped up woodland walk, watching hawks dip and soar, and
a crisp king duvet, homemade flapjacks, and I wondered,
Faith Leg, where have you been all my life?
Whatever you're looking for, find something you weren't. Like great value midweek and weekend specials at fabulous Faith Leg Waterford.
faithleg.com. Let it draw you in.
This April 18th and 19th, the Dublin Tech Summit at the Convention Centre Dublin will showcase everything the capital has to offer as a global technology hub. Featuring keynote speakers such as YouTube sensation Casey Neistat, President Obama's Director of Media Advance Johanna Maska, and former US Secretary of Homeland Security Michael Chertoff. The Dublin Tech Summit is where today's leaders meet tomorrow's technology. Tickets available at dublintechsummit.com. The Dublin Tech Summit, April 18th and 19th at the Convention Centre Dublin. Proudly supported by News Talk.
Right, Winter. That's enough of you and your beast from the east for 1 year. We want our gardens back. And we want the great deals at appliancesdelivered.ie. Yeah, we know they have the lowest prices on home appliances in Ireland. But Appliances Delivered also have new garden and DIY ranges like lawnmowers, hedge trimmers, power washers. And why not treat yourself to a new barbecue from just $99.95? Plus all the barbecue accessories. Hello, summer. Appliancesdelivered.ie. Why pay more?
Tower Records presents Your Music, Your Life, the ultimate vinyl sale for 10 days only. Get huge discounts on vinyl albums by Kendrick Lamar, Gorillaz, Pink Floyd, The Killers, Blondie, Air, plus loads more. And don't forget Record Store Day on April 21st. We'll be celebrating from 8 a.m. in Tower Records, Dawson Street and O'Connell Street. Your Music, Your Life, the ultimate vinyl sale now on at Tower Records.
Off the Ball. This is News Talk.
You're welcome back to the football show. Nathan and Kev in studio this evening. Full-time whistle is just gone at the Amex Stadium and it has finished Brighton 1, Spurs 1. So that a huge point for Chris Hughton's side. Spurs took the lead through Harry Kane 3 minutes after half-time, but in 90 seconds Brighton were level. Pascal Gross with the equaliser from the penalty spot. What that means is Spurs stay in fourth. They're on 68 points. 8 clear of Chelsea. Chelsea have a game in hand. But more important for Brighton, who move on to 36 points, 8 points clear of the relegation zone. They've got 4 games left, so Southampton do have a game in hand in them, but you would think that should be enough for Chris Hughton's side, who have a pretty horrible run-in over the final 3 weeks of the season, and they're celebrating at the Amex Stadium like it is enough for survival. And hopefully we get a chance to speak to Chris Hughton over the coming weeks about a pretty remarkable job he has done at that club this season. Right now, though, we want to talk goalkeeping because David Preece is on the line, former goalkeeper and the host and presenter of the #1 podcast. I'm not just picking it up, that's actually what it's called because it's about goalkeepers.
Ah, good, very good.
Hi, David, how's it going?
I'm very well, gents. How are you?
It's not just ego that you called it the #1
I can
podcast.
imagine that is the ego thing, isn't it? That is the pure... #1, straight away, you're looking at it, yeah. I can well imagine that.
You've got a lot to live up to your podcast.
All these keepers have pure egos, honestly.
Oh, really?
It was possibly the only way we were going to get it anyway, so I'll call it that.
It's an interesting time, particularly in England, I think, around goalkeepers. I'd say you're getting a lot of calls at the moment about who should be on the plane to Russia, especially after Joe Hart last night. Another mistake against Stoke. Gareth Southgate was there. He probably won't have been overly impressed with Jack Butland either, all of which means it looks as though Jordan Pickford is going to be England's #1. And he's been getting a little bit of criticism as well because he's not that experienced. He's not the most commanding, not the most physical inside the penalty box. How do you assess the three of them?
Well, I'd go with Jordan. I think it's just because there's a template that the FA and Gareth Southgate wants for how they want to play and how they want their goalkeeper to play. I think if you're looking solely at that, regardless of what happens this season or what's happened with each goalkeeper at each club, you've got to say that Jordan fits that bill. You're right, it's been a tough season for most of them. And the one real outstanding keeper has been Nick Pope at Burnley. And obviously the tournament's probably come a bit too early for him. And yeah, there's been a lot of chat about what's Joe Hart's situation as well. And we thought he'd come out the other side of the tunnel after that display against Chelsea a couple of weeks ago, and it just shows you that it wasn't a turning point in his season either. It's a gradual decline it's been going on for some time now, and it's.
Why has there been that decline? I guess every time England fail at a World Cup, there's the post-mortem and they talk about technical ability and time with the ball in training when they're kids. Is it a similar situation with goalkeepers, that English goalkeepers are being trained in a different way to players from the continent where they're not as used to having the ball at their feet, that they're sort of been left behind a little bit?
I think that's the case in the past, but I think things have changed. There's been a bit of a revolution, certainly in sort of British goalkeeping coaching circles. Things have been too stale for a long time, and that's possibly why we have fallen behind. But we're starting to produce very good young goalkeepers. In Joe Hart's case, I think it is a little bit to do with the coaching. When he was at his peak, his peak years, maybe between 2009 and 2014, when he won his 2 Premier League titles with Man City. He was at the top of his game, and it was probably no coincidence that Massimo Barata, who's Mancini's goalkeeping coach there, he knew what Joe needed. He knew that Joe needed to concentrate on his crossing, comfort crosses, and his distribution, and that's what they worked on a hell of a lot. Now, since he left the club in 2013, more than the Euros 2 years ago, I think that's probably the starting point of the decline that we've seen, and because he hasn't worked on those weak points in his game, the other strengths, he's had to rely on his other strengths, which has been shot stopping in the past, but when that's failed, that's when it hits his confidence, and you can see other parts of his game affected now.
Yeah, Dave, you just said there about the template for the FA. Did you know what that template is? What they're looking for in the goalkeeper? What attributes does he actually have to possess?
Well, it is that extra play. It is, we know that first and foremost goalkeepers need to be good shot stoppers. It's a prerequisite for any goalkeeper, but it's becoming less. Was declining in importance. Its role in the players and the goalkeeper's total play, and you think that you touch the ball so many times with your hands, but now it's important that you're the first point of an attack. You out at Newcastle and Arsenal on Sunday, and you see Martin Dubravka. He's so calm on the ball, and when the ball comes through, he's not hurried by anybody coming towards him. He's always scanning, looking for the next pass, and he breaks through that first line of press. So you're getting higher numbers in midfield, getting overload in midfield, and that's where you can start off, and you can start creating space. So
is Pickford that much better then, do you think, than Butland and Hart? Is that why you have him as the number one, and you see him going there to Russia for England as the number one goalkeeper?
Certainly, and I think it's even not just from a technical aspect. It's his demeanour, it's his calmness.
What makes him stand out technically then?
I mean, technically, you look at Jack Butland. Before his injury, he's had a reconstruction of his ankle, and I think that's affected his distribution a lot. But it's about most goalkeepers. If you just give a goalkeeper a passing drill or something like that, they can do it exceptionally well. Most players can do it. Every player can do it exceptionally well. But when it comes to pressure situations, that's when things change. That's when people's decision making gets affected. And I think more than anything, in pressure situations, I think that Jordan Pickford is unaffected. Well, not unaffected, but less affected than the others.
Is it also with Jordan Pickford, it is a shot into the dark from Gareth Southgate, because when you talk about pressure and mentally being able to cope with that, there's nothing quite like the pressure of playing for England at a World Cup. There's nothing he can have done in his career so far that can prepare him for that.
He's played for Sunderland. He's played for Sunderland in a relegation battle. Let me tell you, that's hard enough.
Yeah, but this is the thing, though. I mean, you're right. He hasn't played in a World Cup before, and even if Joe Hart was to play as number one in this World Cup, then you'd still be going into the next major tournament, the next Euros, with no experience. If you're thinking Joe Hart and Jack Butland and John Pickford are going to take over then, so it's a question that needs to be answered sooner or later. But I think we talk about the experience Joe Hart has, and that's the reason why he's going to be included into the squad. But yes, he's experienced, but those experiences haven't been great experiences. So do you need somebody in there who's like a blank page? If you take Nick Pope, then there's no negativity, there's no thoughts about what might happen negatively. That's a Wales and Iceland situation might occur. So there's another side to that as well.
I was going to say to you, why has in your mind, the decline of Joe Hart been as dramatic as it's been? What has he done, or what is he doing differently than what he was perhaps doing? Maybe you're talking about his peak years in 09 and 10. What's been done differently, do you think? I mean, I'm talking like on the pitch, more so when you're actually watching him yourself.
Do you know, I think, apart from what I mentioned about sort of working on his weaknesses and with Massimo Baratta during Mancini's years, I think it's a fact that it doesn't look like he's matured.
I mean, he's still only 30 though, isn't he? That's the thing. He's not like that's the one thing that's quite striking. He still is peak for a goalkeeper, you would think, in my mind, anyway.
He is, but I mean, you know yourself, with young players and especially young goalkeepers, you want to impress all the time. So you get pumped up before games and you get yourself wound up when that's not really what goalkeeping's about. I think we kind of got misled by someone like Peter Schmeichel, who worked for him. He was a one-off. He was unique. He went out there and he looked like bulging eyeballs all the time, berating his defence. But inside, he was ice cool. And I think it sort of led to other goalkeepers thinking, I've got to be this big voice of authority and shouting and bawling at people when really you need to be someone like De Gea or Van der Sar, somebody really calm. Because the calmer you stay, the more likely you're going to make better decisions.
It's difficult to stay calm when you're the Manchester United goalkeeper and you're under all that pressure all the time, and I guess that's part of De Gea's brilliance. And it's likewise for whoever's in goals for Liverpool, whether it's Mignolet or Karius. When you look at Mignolet and Karius, and particularly Karius, who has the jersey at the moment, technically, is he good enough for a team that wants a challenge for Champions League and challenge for the Premier League? And mentally, is that where the biggest issue for him is?
I think when you look with Karius, I think he's still young. He's 24 years old. We're starting to see the goalkeeper that Liverpool thought they were getting. Maybe he's about 18 months sort of later than expected. I think they thought he'd fit straight in because he's experienced in English football before. But again, he was kind of hit by, I think it was nerves or just some sort of anxiety, whereas it affected his game and not just his decision, it affected him technically as well. And it's only now, you're right, he's getting on top of his game again. But I'm not so sure. I think at the very top, if Liverpool have any aspirations of winning, I think there's been a lot of talk about Alisson being a target. That's the kind of goalkeeper they're going to have to get.
Why is Karius not good enough?
I wouldn't say he was good enough. Not good enough because I think we haven't seen him perform at a consistently high level for a long time. It's barely been half a season, so at the moment I would say no. And if the chance was there to get Alisson, I know that Rome have said there's no chance today, but I know for a fact that Liverpool will be going all out in the summer to get him.
How do you know when you're looking at keepers from, say, mid-table teams who are looking to make the step up? I'm thinking of somebody like Mignolet when he went to Liverpool, who was probably seen as one of the best keepers from teams around the mid-table, and then he goes to Liverpool and it never has fully worked out. He's never been fully convincing. What are the attributes you look at with goalkeepers when they are at those kind of teams that would suggest they can make that sort of step up?
I think the most important way you think when you look at goalkeepers these days is that you have so many different types of goalkeepers. You have to see who suits your style of play. So Nick Pope at the moment is perfectly suited to Burnley. The way that he plays, he's used to playing deep in his goal. Same with Matty Ryan. When you go to recruit goalkeepers, you have to have them to suit your team, suit your style of play. Now, I'm not sure when Jurgen Klopp came into Liverpool, Mignolet was definitely not the type of goalkeeper he needed in his side. He needed somebody very much like an Edison. Karius as well, to be fair, is very good distribution-wise, probably underrated. And I think that's, like I said, it's about getting the right goalkeeper for your side rather than just saying, I need a good goalkeeper, he's good, I'll take him.
Just when you say staying deep in their goal, you mean literally staying in and around the 6-yard box, not standing on the edge of your area because you're defending quite deep, you're going to stay close to your line?
Well, I know talking to Matty Ryan at Brighton, what he's had to adapt to is, obviously he's got two very good centre-halves who are aerially commanding. And in past, in Valencia and Bruges and back in Australia, he's been used to come and dominate in his area. And even for his size, he's very good at taking crosses. But what he's had to do, he's had to sort of learn how to sort of pick and choose when he comes.
Yeah, it's almost if
he should let his defenders deal with it.
Sorry, Dave, I'm just saying, is that almost if you just
knows it isn't coming for him, that he has to drop deep And then that's when in training you play on those reaction saves and shots coming through your bodies, and that's what you've got to coach.
Yeah, sorry, Dave. I'm just meaning there. Is it almost if you've got two dominant centre halves in Dunk and Duffy, you've allowed them to do the job, and you just focus on your own? Is that kind of the mentality of it then? Yeah,
certainly, and it's definitely the sort of the vibe that I got from Matty when I was talking to him as well. But it is a case. It's about picking and choosing. It's about making decisions. It's some keepers you'll get that they'll come for high balls no matter what, and they'll make their mistakes. And the best ones they'll reduce that by making the best decisions and knowing and trusting their defenders. And that's what it's about as well. It's having that trust in each other and forming those relationships to playing plenty of games together.
A text in from Dennis in Cork. As a former goalkeeper, can you ask David what he thinks is the single most important quality for playing in goals? Depends on the team.
Probably a number of things now, isn't it?
It's a very good question, but I think it's for a young goalkeeper, the first thing they have to do is be able to deal with the disappointment and deal with the negative side of the game. Once you accept that, then you can move on and you take the fear and doubt away from your game, because fear and doubt, especially for a goalkeeper, if any player is, but for a goalkeeper, it can mean death, really.
You touched on Ederson there as well, David. You know, with Ederson, potentially say, well, he's probably not even going to go to the World Cup as Brazil's number one choice, the way that he's played this season as well. Where do you see him in relation then to Nathan's touched on there, De Gea, Lloris, and some of the better goalkeepers that we've seen, Thibaut Courtois? Where do you see him, and how do you rate the current crop of Premier League goalkeepers at the very top of the Premier League, that is?
I think when you compare them all, like I said, they have their different attributes. Lloris, De Gea, Ederson, Petr Cech, they're all very much, Thibaut Courtois, they're all very different in their skill sets and what they're very good at. I think, you look at Ederson, you can't compare him too much to De Gea because they're totally different goalkeepers. And, you look at the protection that Ederson's had this year. Everyone say, oh, well, he's had a lot of protection and he has to deal with a lot of shots. Yes, but there's a payoff to that, and the payoff is that he's part of the build-up play, and they probably wouldn't score, they might not score as many goals with a different keeper in there who's not as setting attacks from deep and going long and playing short, playing through defensive presses. So it's like I said, it's about different goalkeepers and different skill sets and the different styles. Now we're not looking at similar goalkeepers and saying that there's one type of goalkeeper that you have to go for. This is the type of goalkeeper. You have to be very fluid in what you want, depending on your team's needs.
In one word, then, who be in your team of the season, De Gea or Ederson?
Probably De Gea, but simply because of the influence that he's had on his side. Without him, they certainly wouldn't be the same side.
Yeah, this cowboy beside me said Ederson earlier on, so I went with De Gea as well.
Unfortunately, we have to leave it there, David. We've got to go to an ad break. It's been a pleasure having you
David.
on. We'll get you on again soon, David. Thanks a lot for that.
Cheers, lads.
Off the ball on News Talk.
Many of life's great pleasures are best enjoyed when shared. And at Bow Concept, it's time to share our new collections of cool contemporary Danish home furnishings with you. Join us for our design days from the 12th to the 22nd of April at Bow Concept Beacon South Quarter, or visit bowconcept.ie today.
This isn't the time to be shy about striving for success. This is a time to act on ambition, to think bigger, go further, learn more. UCD is Ireland's #1 university for graduate studies, with degrees that open doors and mentors who will nurture, inspire and shape you professionally. Stand out on your own terms and set your own trajectory. Visit ucd.ie/masters. UCD. Think bigger.
TileStyle know all about bathrooms. Whether it's functional German design or Italian passion and flair, they have it all. Showers, taps, baths, radiators and more in a range of styles to suit your home. And we haven't even mentioned their stunning wood flooring collections yet. TileStyle gives you all the choice and quality you need in bathrooms, wood, tiles and stone. Their amazing showroom is just off the M50 at exit 10. Call in for some expert advice or log on to tilestyle.ie.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
All right, that is almost us done for tonight's show. So Brighton won, Spurs won the full-time score in the Premier League. In the Electricity League Premier Division, Dundalk remain out in front, a 3-0 win for Stephen Kenny's side down in Limerick this evening. But Cork City's 1-0 win over Sligo Rovers at Turner's Cross means they're only 2 points behind Derry City in third with Waterford in fourth. Wigan, you thought were up, Kev, but they're going to have to wait another little while.
Well, virtually Shrewsbury getting beat tonight as well, so it's a big win for them. So they're virtually up now.
OTB AM back tomorrow morning, live 7:45. Jer's going to be joined by Andy Lee, Eric Donovan and Daniel Harris. So definitely well worth getting up for. Facebook.com/off the ball. Twitter and YouTube as well. Tomorrow night we're going to have Wednesday night rugby. We're going to talk to referee Joey Neville, and we'll have Kevin Cullen on the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry, which is bubbling up nicely once again. Thank you, Kev.
Good man. Cheers, Nathan.
Tom Dunn is up next. Good night.